It's Christmas time again, Ed. Our third Christmas episode.
Angels are singing in heaven.
Much joy to the world, and that, despite all the wars and crap going on.
Peace to all mankind, Rich.
Oh, it's Christmas time!
Rock and roll. A third Christmas, Rich. How exciting!
How exciting is that?
60 odd episodes out in various guises and forms. That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, all of the episodes. 3 Christmas episodes. Can you believe it? Santa's been kind to us all these years. Will he be kind to us this year, do you think, Ed?
He'll be climbing on my roof, undoubtedly.
I should hope so. He'd be coming down your chimney too.
What do we got this time, Rich?
I'm going to say, welcome to Procurement Says No, episode 38. The Christmas episode number 3. We are on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, all the other way around, and of course, the Alchemy Network, and on TikTok, which we said we'd never do. And you can buy a t-shirt from us on eBay or get in touch with lovely Ed, and a website, and a blog, and a newsletter, and all that.
Yeah. And you can ring us, and we can give you some special advice.
Oh, yes. We're now available on an hourly basis to give advice.
Yes, exactly. Only £200 an hour.
Is that all?
Well, that's for me, and for you,
50p. So that's £200 and 50p per hour for a little bit of Ed and Rich. You can ask us any questions you like, and we all answer them fully, forcefully, and with fun.
authoritatively.
Oh, yeah.
And you know that we always have an answer for everything. It might not be true, but hey.
Yes, it might be made up, but it'll be good. It'll be a good answer. And today we have some Christmas news. We have some identity theft news. And we have part 2 of our super duper duper guest, Dr John Glen of Cranfield University and CIPS, talking all economy type stuff. But first, here's the news, brought to you by CIPS, sort of. Ben, over to you.
Hello, I'm Ben Farrell from CIPS, and here's the news.
Right, this is from Ian McGill at Open Opportunities, openops.com. It's an analysis of public sector tenders in the UK, Europe and US during Christmas and January, over the Christmas period. And Ian has worked out that there are 397 tenders with holiday deadlines, 37 of which have a deadline of the 31st of December, I think it is.
Hoorah.
Maidstone NHS have got 6 tenders with deadlines of New Year's Eve. One of the New Year's Eve specials is of Legal Aids Agency's Civil Legal Aids Services, a reopening of the 2024 contract, which must have lawyers up and down the country crying into their Christmas lunches. And a special mention goes to the Midlands Partnership Foundation Trust, who've given us our first Christmas Day deadline for a tender.
Christmas Day.
Just unbelievable. Christmas Day. Brilliant. So well done to the Midlands Partnership Foundation Trust. I take it that's the NHS. Brilliant. Brilliant NHS management, as usual.
How do you think they've come up with that? Do you think they just put it into the algorithm and said 8 weeks from now, and it just happens to be 25th of December, they put no thought into it? Or do you think they're being deliberately anti-Christmas?
I think they're probably, they're being stupid, which is the norm, or they're doing it on purpose because they already know what they want, and one of the suppliers knows he's going to put the bid in, and the rest of them are going, what, Christmas Day? You having a giggle?
What, could you suggest such a thing, Rich?
I couldn't suggest that. I've just intimated it. Outside the UK, bidders are faring less well. The German public sector has served up 1,546 holiday deadlines, including 55 New Year's Eve deadlines, and France is providing 1,457 holiday deadlines with 81 on New Year's Eve. Canadians can look forward to 199 New Year's Eve deadlines, and the USA has got 55 public sector deadline for tenders. So that is absolute genius, isn't it?
That is absolutely shocking.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Isn't it really? Just like
France's Establishment De Santé et Médico-Socialose has published 65, this is one organisation in France, public sector organisation, has published 65 tenders itself. And the USA's NAVSUP Weapons System Support Mechanism has published 57 for return on during the Christmas holidays. Brilliant. Absolute brilliant.
Stunned disbelief. How amateurish is
Yeah.
that?
It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you procurement people in the public sector, you need to just have your heads examined, guys. Just stop. Just stop doing it. Every year there's things on LinkedIn where people go, don't do it. It's foolish. And yet they carry on.
And to you suppliers, just say no.
Except when they say no, that will mean the supplier that's been nudge, nudge, wink, winked will get the job.
Yeah, precisely. Oh dear.
Out blooded Rogers. Anyway, I've got some identity fraud news as well, Ed.
Oh, go on. Have you had your identity stolen?
I have. Back in November, I had a letter from Solaris Law saying that I owed them £6,968.09 on my Screwfix Direct Limited trade account. And they were going to take me to court for this money unless I paid them immediately.
Right, just repeat the name of that company.
It was Solaris Law acting on behalf of Screwfix. So I phoned Solaris Law and said, what the hell's this all about? And they said, we need to know your full details, please, sir. And I went, what? They sounded as confused as I was. And then I got in touch with Screwfix, and they were not terribly impressive at all. And in fact, I eventually got through to Solaris Law, their lead partner, who was a lady called Karen Bulgarelli, who was actually quite nice. And she had written a very nicely written letter about what had gone wrong and how they'd managed to get my name and my address, even though the name that they used, which was Richard Beattie, didn't have my address on it. They used a different address. So how they then worked out that it must have been me, I don't know. So who knows? Anyway, I had a nicely written letter from Solaris Law, but no apology. And then I wrote to John Mewett, who is the CEO of Screwfix, challenging him about his incompetent leadership. And he wrote back to me with the same title, Incompetent Leadership, which I thought was quite good. An email from the CEO of Screwfix, John Mewett, titled Incompetent Leadership. Thanks, John. And he said, I'm sorry to learn that you may have been affected by identity theft. So there was no apology from him at all.
May have been.
Yeah, you may have been.
May have been. So he's had a legal letter done.
Yep. So, and then I got in touch with Action Fraud, who you get in touch with if you feel there's been some sort of fraud involved. I had a long call with them and told them all about it. And they went, oh, that's very bad. We will pass all that information on to the police. And then I had an email from them saying, under the Home Office rules, the matter cannot be recorded as a crime. So that was all a waste of time.
Makes you wonder why you bother really with a lot of this stuff, doesn't it? It's like when you ring the police about something and then they say, oh yeah, that's nothing to do with us, when it patently is, but they've just decided they're not going to deal with that anymore.
Yeah.
It's the same, isn't it?
Yeah. So whether I did have my identity stolen or whether it just happened to be somebody who's also called Richard Beattie, because there are a lot of people called Richard Beattie. I'm linked in with about 7 of them on Linked Up. We have the Richard Beattie Club. Who knows?
So did you get compo?
I got no compo at all. No compo. You'd have thought they would have sent me a £10 voucher to Screwfix, wouldn't you? Really?
But would you want to shop at Screwfix now?
Well, no. I'll tell you what, I wrote back to him and I said, Dear John, thank you for your email. It does appear to be missing an apology from you on the actions that you took against me. So I would appreciate a proper apology. And then at the end, I said, perhaps you could drop me a proper apology. You could tighten your processes. I'm sure you'll have a tool for that. Try the Matika range and keep a lookout for a rogue Richard Beattie trying to open another trade account. Oh, and a voucher from Screwfix wouldn't go amiss. Maybe I'll open a second account and see what happens. And then I didn't get any reply from that one.
No, because he's spoken to legal and they've said, don't put an apology in there because that admits guilt.
Yeah.
Poor.
Yep. You'd think he could have sent me a Matika reversey drill bit or something, couldn't you, really? I mean, come on.
Or a broom handle.
Anyway, to do what with? Exactly.
I'll leave that to your imagination.
So that's the Christmas news. Not very joyful for all men, was it?
I have a little bit of news.
Oh, go on then.
I wrote an article on AI about 7 years ago for a magazine called In Procurement, which is a magazine for the public sector. And then about 6 months ago, they said, "Oh, would you write another article following up on your first article because you were the first contributor on AI?" I thought, "Oh, okay."
Ooh.
Anyway, because I've contributed, they send me their magazine every month, but it's mainly about the public sector. Pretty magazine, but I have to say I don't really read it a lot. But there is an article in there that caught my eye in the latest edition, which is the November-December release of In Procurement 2025 magazine. The article is called "The Many Heads of a Procurement Professional."
Oh, he's got it. He's just shown me it.
So this lady, Helen Rees, head of procurement and contracting at the Mid and West Wales Fire and Rescue Service, has written an article for them.
It's not about writing a spec for a fire engine, is it?
No, it's no, but we do like that theme of the fire service, don't we? Anyway, I thought I'll have a quick look at this article because, just see what she has to say. So basically, it's a list of all the things that a procurement professional is, bulleted with little summaries underneath.
Oh, very helpful.
But there are 4 pages of them with little short paragraphs. So there's about 40 or 50 things that a procurement professional is. What I did like was peacemaker. That's like biblical, isn't it? That's like a Christmas hymn. Blessed are the peacemakers. She's just got this whole list. It's like strategic thinker, risk manager, innovator, strategic power broker, financial caretaker, peacemaker, communicator, leader, relationship manager, resilience provider, technologist and data analyst, negotiator, sustainability champion, blah, 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 blah. Do more with less expert, business partner,
God.
attractive client, process champion, researcher, delegator, well-being and social value advocate, master juggler, market expert, problem solver, sustainability champion, collaborator.
Blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's like this went on and linked up, didn't it, about a year or so ago? We did those episodes, List Mania and Return to List Mania.
Yeah.
When there was this whole thing about lists of everything. List. Another bloody list. Love a list.
Empathetic listener. Were you an empathetic listener when you were head of procurement in your various roles with various FMCG and...
Sorry, I wasn't listening. Say that again.
I'm a motivator. I won't lie, procurement is not the easiest of careers. It requires such a diverse range of skills and involves a lot of stakeholders and external factors.
Has it got Chief Administrative Officer?
No, it hasn't got that. Process champion, that's an admin-y thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll do.
Sustainability champion.
Ooh.
Well, after COP30, that's dead, isn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah, just like, it's a big list. When you do that list with any function, you could do that with HR, couldn't you? Empathetic listener, motivator, enabler, agent of change. Maybe not commercial manager. They're not very commercial, are they? But yeah,
That's brilliant. Well done to that person and that magazine of choice. Well done, everybody. Let's have a round of applause for that. And that's the news.
Hurrah!
Hurrah!
But Santa's on his way with a big sack of prezzies for you and me.
What are you going to get this year, do you think, Ed? What are you wanting? What do you want this year?
Gold bullion. I think gold bullion for Christmas this year, Santa.
I just want peace on earth.
Oh.
Which I think you said earlier. But I want that too.
Blessed are the peacemakers.
What did he say?
Blessed are the cheesemakers.
Blessed are the cheesemakers. I love a bit of cheese. Look, actually, a bit of quality cheese for Christmas wouldn't go amiss. Oh, I had a lovely bit of Roquefort the other day. Procurement says no for all your cheesy needs.
We're moving away from procurement because we've done that one. We're now moving into the world of cheese. We might get some freebies actually, because with procurement we never get any freebies sent.
Well, I'll tell you what. As it's Christmas time, we need to have some baby cheeses, like Baby Bell or the Laughing Cow. That'll do.
Oh no, that's disgusting. It's all like processed.
Don't say that. They're going to send me buckets of it now. And that's the news.
It is. Super.
Right. Well, welcome back to John Glen from Cranfield and CIPS. Can you do the honours?
So Dr John Glen is a visiting fellow at Cranfield University and the chief economist at the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, CIPS, and widely recognised for his expertise in global economics and supply chain resilience.
Hello, John.
Hi, guys. Nice to be back again.
Right, let's get started then.
Hurrah!
Just a question for you on one economy. I guess number 4 in the world, 4th biggest economy GDP-wise, is Japan. Japan has had an interesting trail because it grew hugely after the Second World War. It was given lots of investment. It developed brilliant ways of working. It built its industries fantastically. And then it all went a bit pear-shaped, but it seems to be stabilizing a bit now. Any views on whether the West follows that model of Japan?
I think the great thing about the Japanese economy was this notion of innovation. If the West is going to meet the challenge that it faces, it has to innovate. And it has to innovate in those businesses that it knows it can sustain a competitive advantage in. And Japan has been able to do that. And Japan has also moved up. You have primary extractive industries, which are very often developing economies. You then have manufacturing economies, and then you have service economies, and you move through that as your economy evolves over time. And Japan has been very good at doing that. It has tended to export rather well. Yeah, it has had a government that has set the basic conditions for organisations doing well in terms of developing human capital and encouraging the development of human capital, treating innovation favourably in terms of taxation, okay, developing and supporting those parts of the economy that have an opportunity to grow, and accepting that some don't, okay. And I think that's what the Japanese have done exceptionally well. And part of that reflection, because people always talk about, the Japanese debt to GDP ratio is incredibly high. But if you're a bank and you're going to lend to any organisation that is very, very leveraged, then what you do is you look at the cash flow into that business. You look at the ability of that business to service its debt. And that's what the Japanese have always been very good at. Full disclosure, significant amount of their debt is owned by their own nationals. So there isn't big risk there. Okay, there's not a foreign exchange risk. The debt is more secure. But they've been able to run that economy in a great way and move from, if you like, the disruptor. We talked about the 70s, where they were disrupting, 60s and 70s, disrupting classic Western economies and markets, to then facing the challenge of being the disrupted. And that's where we all have to go, and it's an enormous challenge. You see it now with South Korea, with Taiwan, who were traditionally emerging economies in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and now are facing the challenge of being the disrupted economy. So Taiwanese economy, which is based on producing computer chips, sees the rest of the world behaving strategically against that, with the Chip Act in North America, with admittedly the European Union trying to produce chips.
They were more crinkle cut, I think, weren't they?
They're just we're not putting enough money into it. If you're going to go, you've got to go big. We haven't done that. But of course, you then see China will develop those chips. So for Taiwan, it's a massive economic challenge that they face. And then obviously all of the geopolitical uncertainty.
More straightforward just to invade Taiwan, though, if you're China, presumably.
Yeah, well, if you were a betting person, you would say a pragmatic Chinese government would not invade Taiwan at the moment, whilst they're still producing as many chips as they are.
Hold off until Taiwan goes into decline.
At the point, they become less important to the global economy.
Yeah. But there was a point in the 70s and 80s where everything was made in Japan, wasn't it? It was just made in Japan, made in Japan. Even Deep Purple's seminal live album.
What a cracker that was too.
Bob Dylan live at the Budokan.
Yeah.
And the Scorpions.
Yeah.
Obviously, the sound was good. Scorpions, Ed, hey, that's going to a certain segment in the market. Hey, I'm impressed.
We love the Scorpions, don't we, Rick?
I was going to say Cheap Trick as well. They were big in the Budokan.
Cheap Trick. I want you to want me, Richard.
I often say to Rich that we should do a heavy rock and heavy metal podcast, but he resists. Probably too much competition out there. I was just going to say, just it was interesting, wasn't it? Going back to that industrial policy thing, that when I was first a buyer, I worked in the electronics sector, and there were loads of chip plants in the UK. We had the sort of Silicon Valley up in Linlithgow around there in Scotland. We had near Durham, we had a Fujitsu plant. We have some specialist plants down in the south of England and stuff like that. And all of that just disappeared. And then the same within Europe, I think, wasn't it? It all, because of the investment cost, I think, to your point, John, is that as wafer fabs and the density of the chips changed and became, sub-micron and all that, it just led to a move away, didn't it? And I guess a coalescence in Taiwan and possibly China.
I think initially as well, there was the Japanese and basically Japanese companies that came in as part of the industrial policy of the sort of first couple of Thatcher administrations, where we massively encouraged them to come in. And again, they were attracted by the UK market and the ability to export into the European Union. They brought their supply chain with them. But obviously then, as you become more mature and the industrial policy becomes less onerous in that you've done your time where you had to procure locally, you can start to procure on a global market, particularly at a time when the innovation is elsewhere and the cost base is elsewhere.
There were tariffs on chips as well back in the day, I think, that sort of encouraged that, and then I guess they were released.
Absolutely.
So slightly left field question. Did austerity in the UK for 14 years have a part to play in the lack of growth? And I know that's a sort of Keynesian play, or whatever, the government investing and stuff and spending our money sort of thing. So I know there was other factors in the economy like COVID and like the financial market meltdown, Brexit, etc. But do you think that's had a play in the lack of growth? The fact that the government have stepped so far back?
It's this notion that, if we take it back to the level of an organisation, did any organisation ever cost cut its way to greatness?
Yeah, shrink to greatness.
Every organisation, what they want to do is they want to find markets where they can grow, find markets where they can expand their offering, develop products where they can expand their offering. And essentially, if we'd have done that, then the growth would have paid off our deficit. So, and I know it's a small economy, and therefore, making comparisons is not as easy. But look at the Irish economy. Look at the Irish economy. Never questioned membership of the EU. Took the EU for every cent that it could. Understood where its value proposition was. Attracted pharmaceuticals. Is attracting, all the AI and server farms now, and it's got issues there. Hasn't got a deficit. It has got a financial surplus. Has got a case against Apple at the European Union, where Apple have been found guilty and have to pay tens of billions to the Irish, and they don't want to take it. So you can grow your way out of tough times, and essentially, when Osborne and Co took over the deficit was 700 million. They took it to 1,500 billion. 700 billion, and then obviously we had COVID, and it's now nearly 3 trillion. So austerity hasn't achieved its objective.
Yeah, it's had no effect at all. Yeah.
Companies that keep on cost cutting, share prices will fall, their value will come down because they are not adding any value. They're not growing their top line, they're not growing their bottom line, etc. And you see it time and time again with businesses that don't invest. It resonates throughout, for me, across the whole economy.
And I think then go back to the micro that we've talked about, and what does it mean for individual organisations? You see organisations that do invest. You see organisations that do respond to the challenge that they face, that grow and flourish. And that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on those organisations that have got the capability to grow and flourish, and then we'll have a successful economy. And then the job of the government is hold your nerve, create the conditions that support the growth of these organisations. Try not to do things that are going to get in their way. Make sure that they don't do anything silly or illegal or immoral, and then off we go. And the other thing as well, my brother ran a successful house building company, and he said, John, I don't care what the rules are. I'm past caring what the rules are. Just make a set of rules and keep to them. Set of conditions in the economy. Tell me how, the context in which I have to play the game, and then allow me to play the game. And again, if you're going to talk about, if we go back to house building, if you're going to talk about making planning conditions easier, make them easier and take the hit. If you put a planning application, and my brother just had plot of land released, 33 months in planning, and he went back and looked at, in those 33 months, when was anything actually happening? When was the decision being made? And it was only being made in 5 of those 33 months. That's what when I talk about making the conditions right for business to flourish, that's what we've got to do. We can't have that nonsense.
And presumably that was a 300-page planning submission as well, and the rest.
Oh, yeah. And people concerned about the green belt. They're not concerned about the green belt. They're concerned about the green field at the bottom of their garden. That is not the green belt. And by the way, only 6% of the available land space in the United Kingdom is built upon. we haven't got a shortage of green fields.
But if we just keep saying we're going to build 1.5 million homes, it will magically happen, won't it?
Yeah, you've got to do the grunt and grind. And by the way, when you do that, don't expect to be popular. There's a reason why local authorities don't create planning permission. It's because it makes them unpopular. Well, somebody's got to come along and say, no more of that. Just get your trowel out and start building a few houses. And we won't build 1.5 million. But there's nothing wrong with being ambitious.
But let's build 700,000. Yeah.
And by the way, these are the people that complain that their children can't buy houses because they're too expensive.
Yeah.
Why are houses too expensive? Because we don't build enough of them.
Actually, has there ever been a point in the UK, or anywhere, in fact, where the media have not been moaning about government performance and politicians generally?
That's their job. Well, the job of opposition is to oppose. So they're always going to have somebody squawking about what's wrong with the world. But again, it goes back to, businesses. You talked about it, Ed. You sit in the exco and you'll have a dialogue which says, I believe we've got to do this. And somebody will jump up and down and bang the table and say, this is wrong, we shouldn't do it. But then at the end of the day, you've got to walk out that door and everybody has got to be on message. And that's all we need. It's not a popular, they're turning it into a popularity contest. It didn't used to be. And I think as well, we have to elevate the level of debate. I think the level of debate is...
I was going to say, I think the intellectual level of our political class appears to me over my lifetime to have deteriorated. I think we had smarter people with clearer views, and I think that's dissipated on all sides of the house. I think the arguments are weak and personal, and they don't know when to keep their mouth shut, to our earlier point, John. I think that there's a weakening in politics. We see it in the US, we see it in the UK.
Yeah, well, you would say that because you're a Burke.
You see, back in the day, with the danger of talking about people that nobody's ever heard of, but, Tony Benn and Sir Keith Joseph,
Yeah.
both used to get a train on a Thursday night or a Friday back to Bristol, and they sit next to each other and debate.
But it was a political debate. It wasn't a personal debate.
And that's what it was about, and they were a million miles apart.
That was definitely the case, wasn't it? That politicians of either side would go and have a beer together and talk about stuff.
Yeah, it was about ideas. It was about ideas and putting that in front of a literate political class, who and people, again, if you came from working class areas, you'd go to a pub and they'd be debating serious issues in the pub, once they got over football and rugby or whatever it is they're talking to, they'd go on to, politics and talk about stuff that was serious, not talk about personalities and popularity contests.
We have got a question about Celebrity Traitors now, John, actually, and we wanted to know who your favourite guest on Celebrity Traitors was.
Oh, my God. So I did watch it. I was drawn in. Oh, I did like the little guy who was in Ted Lasso.
Oh, Nick.
I like Nick.
Yeah, because I was the same as you. I got drawn in the same way. It was family recommendation. Oh, you must watch this. And I'm like, oh, all right then. And I'm like, then, because I hate that type of TV programming generally, but I just got completely subsumed into it. It's terrible.
No, it's terrible. I didn't watch any of them. I was watching highbrow television like Panorama. None of this made up stuff.
Yeah. So I justify it on the grounds that, you can look at behavioural economics and game theory in practice. There's a lot of stuff in there, Again, it's this thing, if you repeat a view enough times, even if it's incorrect, people believe it. It's a classic behavioural economics thing. And you see it now, you saw it with Brexit, you see it in North America, where you can repeat insane things enough times and people start to believe it.
My younger son is living in the Far East, and he gets really caught up on all the views of all these social media commentators. And he's got into the UK isn't a safe place to come to.
Yeah, stop.
And I said, well, it's nonsense. But of course, if you see in the media, everybody's being stabbed every day in all of the major cities. So I sent him the statistics on crime in the UK. Most crimes have halved in the last 10 years, except for shoplifting. So I sent this across to him and he's just stayed absolutely quiet, but he doesn't really want to listen to the sort of balanced, evidenced, statistical viewpoint.
Don't get your news from social media, kids.
And that's shifted, isn't it? The way that the narrative has evolved to give all sorts of weird and wonderful views that are completely counter to anything is sort of empirically proven.
And that, that sort of good journalism, if you like, we don't pay for anymore. So I pay for the Guardian and the Telegraph on the grounds that we want the balance.
We do that. We get the Telegraph on a Saturday and the Observer on a Sunday, so we have a bit of balance.
Unfortunately, I've gone online because I'm too lazy to go to the shop. As a previous paper boy, that's disgusting.
That's outrageous. You're doing yourself out of your own job. What are you playing at? Call yourself an economist? Two last questions, if you've got time. These are highbrow. This is taking it up a level, okay?
Here we go.
Number one, WEF, a global force for good, or possibly the beginning of Spectre?
Spectre.
I think to the point you made, you've got to have good analysis, yeah? You've got to have people debating. And not debating, you've got to have a dialogue where people are exchanging ideas. Now, economists are terribly bad at this. We tend to debate. So, I want to prove I'm right and you're wrong, Richard, rather than actually, putting our ideas out there and testing them, okay? So I think that's what we need to do. We need to have a higher degree of dialogue. And then the challenge for the policymakers is to take that and turn it into something that actually improves the lot of people. So
neither a force for good nor the beginning of Spectre.
And just on that one, how long before AI makes all the decisions?
So it's interesting at the moment because I defer to my colleague, Joe Peppard, who is a professor of what used to be called IT or whatever at University College Dublin. He used to be at Cranfield. And he's basically publishing a lot at the moment that says business isn't ready for AI. So AI is there, but business is not using it. It's kind of using it at the fringes.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I actually think is that over time, they will find a use for it. And they'll find a use for it to do a lot of the grunt and grind, a lot of the low-level jobs. I think my best example is I was flying to Stuttgart with Lufthansa, and Lufthansa cancelled the flight due to a strike. And I got a text that said, are you prepared to accept alternatives? Tip yes. And at ChatGPT time on my phone, it said, here are the two alternatives, flying Swiss via Zurich. Press which one you want, pressed it, and at ChatGPT time, it said you're booked on that flight, and here is your boarding card.
Wow, amazing.
But that's a relatively trivial way of using AI, but that's what I want. I want it to do that for me. I know in logistics now, they're looking at agents that you can talk to for almost like your customer service that will track where your shipment is, tell you when it's likely to arrive, tell you if there's any dislocation in the supply chain, and provide you with alternatives. And we'll probably do that better than a human can. But also you will feel as if you're talking to a human because of the synthetic voice and the ability of the voice to flex to where your problem is. I don't think we're too far away from that. I think that's being tried at the moment.
One last question from me, which is something that you said in Birmingham, which was you are a raging pinko commie, I think were your words.
Yeah.
So who's your favourite economist? Is it Keynes? Do you dabble in a bit of Friedman?
Or Adam Smith?
Oh, that's lots of economists. The contemporary economist that I follow a lot is, and I just saw him speak recently in Manchester, is Yanis Youfakis, the Greek economist.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, our trendy Greek economist who drives a Harley Davidson. So he was the Greek finance minister for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And he was trying to persuade the Greek government to tell the Germans that they couldn't have their money back on the grounds that they would then renegotiate the debt. The Greek economy lost its nerve and he lost his job.
Yeah.
So he's produced a number of books looking at the European Union, techno-feudalism, which is the idea, now going back to how the global economy is going to evolve, that essentially will become serfs who are working for these people who control the data and the information, such as Musk and such as Bezos and AWS and all of those. So they will become the people that own the data, and they will own all of the wealth, because essentially without that data you can't use AI to generate wealth, and the wealth that you generate in a transaction as Kuhn and Nagel, we're going to take a big slug of that because you're doing it on a AWS platform. So there's a whole. So his solution then is, we need to go back to socialism, blah blah blah. Take the wealth, tax the wealth, redistribute it. I may sympathise, I may have some empathy with this solution. It will never happen. So I look at Yanis Youfakis, and I think you're a brilliant economist. I love reading your stuff. I think your analysis is spot on. But when it comes to your conclusions and what needs to happen, then it's not going to happen. Particularly when you say that in the United Kingdom, that the party led by Jeremy Corbyn might be the answer, because that ain't going to happen either. Okay.
There's a piece there, John, isn't there, about how culturally ingrained we are with a particular viewpoint, isn't there? I think, so if you go to the Far East, people's viewpoint is different. You look at the Chinese system and you think, well, why do they put up with that? Well, they're not us. They've grown up with a different, they think more about the collective.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
And nor do other nations in the Western world. And we talked about the US, for example.
No. So there is, there's a big break in 79, when Mrs. Thatcher's elected, Ronald Reagan's elected in North America. And then that pressure of Thatcherism and Reaganism sort of went into Western economies, and frankly was regurgitated by the IMF and the World Bank, something called the Washington Consensus, which was a Thatcherite, Reaganite view of how economies should grow, which was dissipated into emerging economies, particularly in South America, and those developing in like Far East and West Africa.
So there you have it, listener. Collectivism, never going to work.
And on that bombshell, you will own nothing and be happy. Thank you to Dr. John Glen. Yay!
Perfect. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care now, guys. Good luck.
Right. And that is the end of our little episode featuring John Glen. We've done 2 episodes featuring John Glen from CIPS. It was marvellous, wasn't it, Ed? What did you think of that?
It was excellent. I think when you get somebody who's an economist, you think they're going to talk and they're going to be very serious all the time, but he wasn't, was he?
He was serious and yet light-hearted too, yes. So I liked the turbulence and transition. I like the reconfiguration of global trade. I like the less growth, less trade. And I like I think you said earlier, everybody's moving east. India's moving east. Everyone's looking east. China's moving upstream.
It's interesting on that. We had the 5 freedoms in Europe when we were part of the EU. Well, the EU's still there, and they've got the 5 freedoms: freedom of movement, capital, people, et cetera, et cetera.
And the other 2, yeah.
It feels the same way, doesn't it, with the East?
Yeah, the East's going to gang up on the West. The East's going to just doing all its intertrade together. Southeast Asia, Asia in general, Indian subcontinent, China, boom. Shakalaka, it's the end of the West as we know it.
There's a song in that, isn't there?
It's the end of the West as we know it. REM. It all goes round in cycles, as Dr. John said. I did like his phrase, adults need to enter the room. I thought that was good.
Yeah.
And he did suggest that predicting is insane. Predicting what the economy is going to do in the next 12, 18, 24 months is just insane. So,
if anything, it feels like stagnation in the West.
Yeah.
And continued growth in the East. And it's a sort of revaluation, isn't it, if you like, of economies around the world. Maybe the West drifting and the East growing.
Growing and building. And there may be some temporary protectionism, like as John said, about as new economies are developing and they're developing their sort of primary extraction and then the manufacturing. And then ultimately they'll get to service. But by the time that the East gets to service economy, what's the West going to be doing? What are we going to be doing? By then, post-service economy, we're just going to be all dead.
We'll all be in care homes, living to 150.
Just being drugged up on morphine.
Yes. Or some synthetic morphine.
Meanwhile, the whole of the West will have gone into luxury goods because the Chinese, they like to buy Western luxury goods, but presumably in the next 10, 15 years, the Chinese will have their own luxury brands. Who knows?
The luxury goods they have out there that are rip-offs of the originals are now absolutely first-rate quality, and it's pretty much impossible to tell the difference. So it used to be that you'd get your Gucci bag in off a market in China or Thailand or wherever, and there would be errors in it now, and you pay hundreds of pounds for the item. So the rip-off item now is £300 as opposed to the original, which is £8,000 or whatever in UK money, and they're just you can't. They're indivisible, I think is the word, isn't it, from the real thing.
Yeah. It's a grey area. And then the other grey area is that we think that China will not invade Taiwan. Not just yet, anyway. Not until the chip supplies runs out.
No.
And we also found out that John's favourite, everybody's favourite economist for comedy value is Yanis Varoufakis, the ex-Greek finance minister. He's good value for money in his giggly way.
Bloody commies.
Crazy pinko commies, yes. So on that bombshell, everybody, that's the end of PSN, episode 38. Woohoo! We'll see you again in the new year for some predictions.
Ta-ra.
Happy Christmas!
Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
We're all in a jolly, jolly, happy Christmas mood.
Even bastards!
What else did he say? Yeah, it was all good. Oh, the only question he didn't answer, to my full delight and delectation, was whether the WEF is a force for good or just the beginnings of Spectre. He did not answer that question fully and properly. He just talked about data management and stuff. So I think he is actually a member of the WEF and or / a member of Spectre in waiting, in hiding.
Spectre it
It
is.
is. I think it's Spectre.
Dr John Glen is a member. Spectre.